Welcome back to your Healing Buddy podcast with your host, Adina Godet. I am a licensed psychotherapist who enjoys having conversations all about the different areas of mental health. I pray that from every episode, someone takes at least one nugget and is able to apply it to their personal life. Thank you so much for tuning in. Enjoy. Hey, you guys. Welcome back to your Healing Buddy podcast. It's me, Adina Godet. I am a licensed therapist here in North Carolina, and we're back with another episode. Today, we're going to talk about anxious attachment style, why it shows up, what it is, and how to move forward into a more secure attachment style. Usually, people who have an anxious attachment style feel like they are too much. They're always asking themselves why they feel so anxious in relationships, why they need constant reassurance, why they fear being left. A lot of times, an anxious attachment style develops when consistency and emotional safety weren't always present. So as adults, relationships can always feel uncertain, even when there's nothing to worry about. Your nervous system never feels safe, and it's always thinking that that person's going to leave. You have a fear of abandonment. You have a high need for reassurance. There's a lot of emotional sensitivity in relationships, and you hyper-focus on your partner's behaviors. When you were younger, love might not have been consistent. Maybe you got attention sometimes and other times you didn't. A lot of times you feel like you had to read between the lines with other people's behaviors, especially your caregivers like your mom, your dad, or people who help to care for you. And a lot of times it does come from childhood, but it's not every single time. It's not the case every time. You could have had a secure relationship and a great childhood, but then you got into a relationship with someone and they could have been avoided. You were always questioning and wondering, okay, what's going on? And because you never experienced that in childhood, you became anxiously attached. A lot of the common signs that you are anxiously attached is when you're overthinking communication, analyzing text, you feel anxious when someone pulls away, you have difficulty trusting stability. There's a lot of emotional highs and lows. You start people pleasing and doing everything that you think they're going to like or want to kind of prove like, hey, you need to stay. You lack a lot of boundaries. You're always apologizing because you're too much or doing a lot. You need multiple accounts of reassurance throughout the day. You also have like an internal conflict. Like you want the closeness, but you're afraid it won't last. So you're trying to hold on tight. You're going to be clingy. You're going to overgive. And it's like you're trying to secure the relationship at all costs. A lot of times, anxious partners are drawn to avoidant partners. The anxious partner usually is the one always apologizing, always trying to communicate, always pursuing. The avoidant one is going to withdraw. Again, the anxious person is going to seek the closeness. The avoidant one is going to pull away. The more one chases, the more the other distances. The cycle becomes very exhausting, by the way. And it's really not love. The anxious partner feels like it is because of the emotion that comes with it, but it's really just a pattern. So internally, the anxious partner is always questioning themselves. They internalize everything. They're going to ask, do they still like me? Why haven't they responded? Did I do something wrong? If someone is silent, that feels like rejection. And if they're distant, and not even necessarily because they're avoidant, they could just be taking some space at the time for themselves to gather their thoughts, it's going to feel like abandonment to the anxious person. Every small thing is going to feel big because their nervous system is always on high alert. The goal is to move towards a secure attachment, a more healthy attachment style. It's no need to shame yourself. You just have to find the coping skills and do the work to practice daily and catch yourself when you are doing these behaviors. First thing you have to do is regulate yourself. Think about it. Being anxious is an emotion. I always tell y'all, emotions fluctuate. Emotions are not facts. So if you look at it as an emotion, that means you know it can change if you look at it a different way. So you have to regulate yourself. You have to have some self-soothing skills, some tools. Some things that can help is to deep breathe. You can do the 3x3 or the 4x4. Basically, you breathe in for 3 seconds, you hold it for 3 seconds, and then you exhale for 3 seconds. You can do some grounding techniques. Physically, actually grounding is getting on the floor, grounding yourself on the ground, going outside, doing it in the grass if it's hot enough, if you're okay with that. But sensory grounding is more about the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's when you identify 5 things you see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. And I always say when you're doing that, be detailed about it. So when I say 5 things you can see, right now I'm looking at a curtain, and I'm not just gonna say, oh, here's a curtain, here's a picture, here's a frame, here's some laundry on the side. Okay, I'm not just gonna do that, because then you're just moving through it, Be detailed. So if I say, hey, I see a curtain, and it is a burgundy color, and it has some ridges on it that kind of make it flow in this way. At the top of it, it has that rod that's black and purple, and then you got the little circles that are silver. Like, look at the details of it so it can actually help you to ground, And then a lot of times you really won't even have to do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You could really just do the 5 and then look at all the details. By that time, you have now grounded yourself, and you're kind of emotionally regulating and self-soothing, right? Sometimes you need something comforting, like a touch, so you can get a blanket and wrap it around you so it can feel like a hug. You can cuddle a pillow. You can hold like a warm mug or a cup. You just need something to create a sense of safety. Another thing when it comes to sensations is ice or cold water. If you can get in a shower, I suggest that. Get right in a cold shower. Oh, you're going to be all right. That body's going to regulate. It's real warm inside of us. It's okay. So get in a cold shower. But if you can't do that, of course, you can always put your hand under a running thing of cold water. You can splash your face with cold water. I always say get something out the freezer and hold it in your hand to kind of regulate there. You can get up, go take like a short walk. Of course, if you're like good at visualizing, some people have to practice this, but if you're not good at it, you have to practice. You can visualize your favorite place or a place that's peaceful. Another thing is limiting your worry time. Or setting a time frame to worry. That could be at 7 p.m. every day. That's going to be my worry time. So if at 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock in the morning, I'm worried about something and I need to be doing something else, I need to focus on my thing and say, hey, I got at 7 p.m. That's my worry time. That's my 30 minutes of worry time that I get. I'm going to worry about it then. But right now, I need to be focused on what I need to do. So sometimes that can help you to compartmentalize what's going on. So those are just some tips to kind of help self-soothe. And of course, there's other ones, and you just have to figure out what works for you. You have to create healthy boundaries within yourself, because you can't always expect someone else to do the regulation for you. Of course, when you're anxious and you're going into your partner or a friend or whoever, you want them to calm you down, which in some cases they can. But if you're always relying on that, you're never going to be able to learn how to do it yourself. Also need to start giving yourself internal validation. It's normal. It is normal to get reassurance and assurance from your partner. Duh. We all need it. That is normal. However, it should not be one day I need 20 counts of reassurance. At some point, you're only relying on their words. And regardless if they leave or stay, you need to learn to have your own internal validation. What are you confident in? How can you build yourself up? How can you encourage yourself? Also, you have to learn how to be consistent with yourself, because if you have abandonment issues or neglect issues, or things just always felt inconsistent and you're scared of that, you have to learn how to be consistent with yourself. So learn to build self-trust within yourself. Told yourself you was gonna go to the gym and you didn't go. Right then, you have lost some trust within yourself. You told yourself at 7 p.m. you was gonna do your laundry. Then you didn't, and you said, well, 30 more minutes at 7:30. 7:30 comes, 30 more minutes. Okay, now, you losing trust within yourself. You told yourself you weren't gonna talk to so-and-so, but then you got lonely and you did. You lost trust within yourself. Do what you said you was gonna do. And also create certain habits. Do them. If somebody told you they was going to do something and they didn't do it, you're not going to trust them. You're not going to rely on them. So you have to learn how to do that within yourself, because you're the only one who is with you from the day you are born to the day you die. You're the only person who knows all your thoughts besides God. So if you can't trust yourself, of course, you're not going to be able to really put your full trust in somebody else, even if they've shown you that they can be trustworthy. You have to practice it with yourself. Security is built. It's not found. When you feel triggered, you need to pause before reacting immediately. You need to start reality checking. Is this a fact or just a fear? Is this my emotion or is this logic? You need to learn how to communicate directly and clearly and not trying to hint all the time. A lot of times, anxious partners will test their partner, put them in certain situations, and then when they fail it, they use that as another reason to say, see, this is inconsistent. A big thing I say as well, build a life outside of the relationship. If you're already, when you're single or just whatever, if you already have your own routine, your own hobbies, your own interests, You have things that you need to do. Of course, when a partner comes in, you have to learn them, but you work around that. You don't just drop everything that you're doing for them. That's why you anxious. They the only things you got going on. A person cannot be the only thing you have going on. If your attention is only directed to them, that's where your focus is. There's no other priority. So if you have a life outside the relationship, you're going to be less anxious. We do not want to be emotionally dependent only on one thing, which could be a partner. So some things that you can start saying to yourself as well, if you're feeling anxious with a partner at the moment, could be, I am safe even if they are unavailable right now. Just because they haven't answered a text, just because they're silent, does not mean it's rejection. They could just be busy. I can handle uncertainty right now. Let me do something else. If you start practicing that internally, that can help you calm your nervous system. And it's going to reduce the urgency you feel in the moment to get them to say something or to get them to reassure you. Say you're a person who is not anxious and you have more of a secure attachment style. If you are dealing with someone who does have an anxious attachment style, it's important not to unintentionally enable those anxious patterns and behaviors. The first thing is to not overfunction. Do not feel like you constantly have to oversoothe, fix the problem, or manage the emotion every single time. Start asking them questions. Well, what are you feeling right now? What is it that you need? Do I have to give it to you, or can you give that to yourself? You can support someone without feeling like you're the one that has to regulate them. You shouldn't always have to say, okay, calm down. All right, let's do it. Obviously as a partner, yes, there should be a balance of that in certain moments. But when it's just every little thing, that's when it's enabling. We're not allowing them to troubleshoot or have solution-focused behaviors. Also, if you are serious about this person, if you are their partner, do be consistent, because that's a good skill to have anyway when you are in a relationship. Consistency will lessen the mixed, intensified emotions. But still, set clear boundaries. So again, if you do have an anxious attachment style, just being aware is the first step. Wanting to actually change and wanting to grow. Also understand it's not a life sentence. You can change. And like I said in the beginning, it doesn't have to necessarily be from childhood. It could be from a past relationship. It could be from a friendship. You could also be anxious with different people. You could be anxious with a partner, but then secure with a friend. You could be anxious with your family, but secure with a partner. Attachment styles aren't a one size fit all. But if you see you have anxious attachment in any type of relationship, it is still something to work on. You can become secure. With the self-awareness, with the tools that you have, with the resources, with your coping skills, and with intentional work, you will be in healthy relationships. You can have healthy patterns. You can exhibit healthy behaviors. And when you do, love is going to feel less of anxiety and chaos and more like peace and happiness and fun. So that is it for me. If you could relate to anything in this video, leave me a like, a comment, and subscribe. I love you guys, and I will see you on the next video. Bye.